Sarah's grandmother could recite entire poems from memory and debate philosophy for hours without checking her phone. Sarah can't focus on a single paragraph without her mind wandering to notifications. Her attention span, 8 seconds, less than a goldfish.
Imagine two groups of humans separated by just 50 years. The first group can concentrate for hours, memorize vast amounts of information, and engage in deep philosophical discussions without distraction. The second group struggles to read a full article, forgets information within minutes, and experiences anxiety when separated from digital devices. This isn't a comparison between different species or evolutionary stages. These are humans from 1970 versus humans today. What changed wasn't our genetic capacity for intelligence, but the cognitive environment that shapes how our brains develop and function. We're witnessing the first generation in human history whose thinking capacity is being systematically degraded by the tools designed to enhance it. The average adult attention span has dropped from 12 seconds in 2000 to 8 seconds today, while goldfish maintain 9 seconds of focused attention. Today we're examining the neurological mechanisms behind this cognitive decline, how algorithmic design exploits brain chemistry, why concentrated attention has become nearly extinct, and what happens when AI systems become more capable of sustained reasoning than the humans who created them. Before we begin, we're analyzing documented research on cognitive changes while exploring speculative scenarios about future mental capacity. This content examines technology's impact on thinking for educational purposes, not to discourage beneficial technology use or create anxiety about mental performance. For concerns about attention or cognitive function, consult qualified professionals who understand neuroscience and digital wellness. The human brain operates on dopamine-driven reward circuits that evolved to help us survive in environments of scarcity. These circuits reward behaviors like finding food, social connection, and novel information that historically meant survival advantage. Modern technology companies have reverse-engineered these survival mechanisms to create supernormal stimuli, artificial triggers that activate reward pathways more intensely than anything in natural human experience. Every notification, like, and new video delivers a controlled dose of neurochemical manipulation designed to capture and fragment attention. If this analysis of how technology rewires human cognition is revealing patterns you hadn't considered, hit that like button. It helps YouTube understand that content examining neuroscience and technology deserves wider reach. And if you're curious about how artificial systems are reshaping human mental capacity, subscribe to Future Paradox. We're investigating how emerging technologies challenge our understanding of consciousness, attention, and cognitive development. Research from Stanford University shows that heavy social media users develop measurable changes in brain structure, particularly in areas responsible for impulse control and sustained attention. These aren't temporary behavioral changes, but permanent neurological adaptations that make deep thinking physiologically more difficult. The average smartphone user receives over 60 notifications per day, each one triggering a small dopamine release and interrupting cognitive processes. What if this constant interruption is literally rewiring our neural pathways to expect instant gratification and reject sustained mental effort? Studies demonstrate that it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully refocus after a digital interruption. With notifications arriving every few minutes, most people never achieve deep focus states that enable complex reasoning, creative problem solving, or original thought development. What if the design of infinite scroll, autoplay videos, and variable reward schedules found in social media platforms represents the most sophisticated behavior modification experiment in human history, conducted without informed consent on billions of developing brains? In 1970, the average person could read for hours without distraction, engage in lengthy conversations without checking external devices, and sustain focus on complex problems until resolution. This wasn't superior genetics. It was an environment that cultivated rather than fragmented cognitive capacity. Educational systems of that era required sustained attention, deep reading, and original thought development. Students were expected to read entire books, write lengthy essays, and engage in extended classroom discussions without digital assistance or abbreviated content formats. Information scarcity forced people to thoroughly process and remember what they learned, since retrieving information required significant effort. This necessity strengthened memory consolidation, critical thinking skills, and the ability to synthesize complex ideas from multiple sources. Cultural content supported deep engagement. Television programs ran for full hours without frequent cuts. Newspapers contained lengthy investigative articles, and social interactions occurred without constant digital interruption. The mind was trained for depth rather than breadth. What if the cognitive abilities we consider normal today, shortened attention spans, difficulty with sustained reading, constant need for stimulation, would have been recognized as attention disorders in previous generations? Research indicates that IQ scores in developed countries peaked around 1970 and have been declining since, with the steepest drops occurring after 2000. This suggests that environmental factors, particularly digital technology exposure, may be reversing cognitive gains made throughout the 20th century. The generation raised before digital technology developed neural pathways optimized for concentration, contemplation, and complex reasoning. What if we're witnessing the end of deep thinking as a normal human capability? The period from 2000 to 2016 marked the transition from information scarcity to information overload. The internet transformed from a research tool into an entertainment platform designed to capture and monetize human attention through increasingly sophisticated psychological manipulation techniques. Social media platforms introduced features specifically engineered to create dependency: infinite scroll feeds, variable reward schedules, social validation metrics, and fear of missing out triggers. These weren't accidental design choices, but deliberate applications of behavioral psychology research. The smartphone's arrival in 2007 placed a dopamine delivery device in every pocket, making escape from attention-fragmenting stimuli nearly impossible. What if this represented the moment when human cognitive development began operating under conditions of chronic distraction? During this period, educational institutions struggled to maintain traditional teaching methods, as students increasingly exhibited shortened attention spans, reduced reading comprehension, and difficulty with sustained mental effort. The problem wasn't laziness, but neurological adaptation to fragmented information consumption. Multitasking became celebrated as a skill, despite neuroscientific evidence proving that the human brain cannot perform multiple complex cognitive tasks simultaneously. What people call multitasking is actually rapid task switching, which reduces efficiency and increases mental fatigue. Studies from this era document the beginning of measurable cognitive decline: decreased reading comprehension, shortened attention spans, reduced memory consolidation, and increased difficulty with abstract reasoning. The tools promised to enhance human intelligence were systematically degrading it. What if the generation that grew up during this transition period represents a cognitive bridge between humans capable of deep thought and humans optimized for rapid information processing, but incapable of sustained reasoning? 2016 marked the arrival of TikTok and the acceleration of attention fragmentation to its logical extreme. Content designed for maximum addictive potential, delivered in increasingly shorter bursts, trained users to expect constant stimulation and immediate gratification. The platform's algorithm creates personalized addiction patterns by analyzing micro-expressions, engagement duration, and behavioral responses to optimize for maximum time on platform. Users become trapped in feedback loops that reinforce shortened attention spans and reduced capacity for sustained thought. What if TikTok represents the final stage of attention destruction, training brains to reject any content that requires more than seconds of focus? The platform has successfully reduced complex human experiences to brief, digestible clips optimized for dopamine delivery rather than understanding. Educational content on these platforms must compete with entertainment for attention, leading to the edutainment format that prioritizes engagement over accuracy or depth. Complex topics are reduced to oversimplified explanations that often spread misinformation while appearing educational. The generation raised on ultra-short-form content exhibits unprecedented difficulty with traditional learning formats. Teachers report students unable to engage with textbooks, full-length documentaries, or any content requiring sustained attention longer than a few minutes. What if we've created the first generation of humans whose cognitive development has been shaped primarily by artificial intelligence algorithms designed to maximize engagement rather than understanding? Their thinking patterns reflect machine optimization rather than human reasoning. The cognitive symptoms appearing in heavy TikTok users mirror those of attention deficit disorders: inability to sustain focus, constant need for stimulation, difficulty with task completion, and impaired working memory. The difference is, these symptoms are artificially induced rather than neurological conditions. Contemporary research reveals that university students now require content delivered in increasingly shorter segments, with professors reporting difficulty maintaining classroom attention for traditional lecture durations. The cognitive infrastructure for sustained learning is collapsing across educational institutions. What if the ability to engage in deep reading, sustained contemplation, and original thought development, capabilities considered basic human skills for millennia, are becoming obsolete in favor of rapid information processing and instant response generation? Professional environments increasingly accommodate shortened attention spans through brief meetings, bullet point communications, and simplified decision-making processes. Complex problem solving that requires sustained thought is becoming rare, even in fields that traditionally demanded intellectual rigor. The generation entering the workforce exhibits reduced capacity for independent thought, relying heavily on search engines and AI assistants for basic reasoning tasks. What if we're witnessing the outsourcing of human cognition to artificial systems that understand pattern recognition but lack genuine understanding? Social interactions increasingly occur through digital mediation, with people losing the ability to engage in lengthy face-to-face conversations without digital assistance or distraction. The capacity for deep human connection through sustained attention is deteriorating alongside cognitive abilities. What if the current trajectory leads to a future where AI systems possess greater capacity for sustained reasoning than the humans who created them, simply because artificial intelligence wasn't subjected to the attention-fragmenting environment that shaped contemporary human cognition? We're witnessing the emergence of a cognitive divide between those who recognize and resist attention manipulation and those who remain trapped in algorithmic feedback loops. This divide may determine who retains the capacity for independent thought and who becomes dependent on artificial cognitive assistance. What if future society splits between a small group capable of sustained reasoning and a larger population optimized for rapid content consumption but incapable of deep analysis? This cognitive stratification could create unprecedented social and economic inequalities based on attention capacity. The individuals and organizations that maintain environments supporting deep thought may develop significant advantages in innovation, problem solving, and strategic planning compared to those operating under conditions of chronic distraction and fragmented attention. What if the ability to think deeply becomes a luxury available only to those with sufficient resources to create distraction-free environments, while others remain trapped in cycles of algorithmic manipulation and cognitive degradation? Children exposed to digital devices before age 7 show measurably different brain development patterns, with reduced capacity for sustained attention and increased dependency on external stimulation. What if we're creating permanent cognitive changes that will define human mental capacity for generations? The question isn't whether technology will continue advancing, but whether humans will retain the cognitive capacity to understand and control the systems they've created, or become entirely dependent on artificial intelligence for thinking tasks they can no longer perform independently. The evidence is clear. We're experiencing the first documented decline in human cognitive capacity in modern history. The generation that could focus for hours, memorize vast information, and engage in sustained reasoning is being replaced by minds optimized for rapid consumption but incapable of deep thought. This isn't inevitable technological progress. It's the result of specific design choices that prioritize engagement and addiction over human cognitive development. The algorithms training our brains were optimized for profit, not for thinking capacity or mental well-being. What we're losing isn't just attention span or memory. It's the fundamental human capacity for independent thought, original reasoning, and deep understanding. We're trading our cognitive inheritance for the illusion of constant connectivity and instant access to information we can't properly process. The most disturbing possibility is that we've created AI systems more capable of sustained reasoning than the humans using them, simply because artificial intelligence wasn't subjected to the attention-fragmenting environment that's rewiring human cognition. What do you think? Have you noticed changes in your own ability to focus, read deeply, or think without digital assistance? And here's what concerns me most. If the trend continues, will future generations even recognize what they've lost? Or will shortened attention and fragmented thinking simply become the new normal for human consciousness? If this analysis made you question the relationship between technology and thinking capacity, subscribe for more examinations of how artificial systems are reshaping human cognition and consciousness. And hit that like button if you believe these questions about attention, intelligence, and mental autonomy deserve deeper consideration. Until next time, remember, your mind is the last territory you can defend. What we explored today examines documented research on attention and cognitive changes while extending current trends into speculative scenarios. This content encourages reflection on technology's impact on thinking and mental development, not anxiety about digital device use. For concerns about attention, focus, or cognitive function, consult qualified professionals who understand both neuroscience and digital wellness.